Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, your Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition game, the show The Undoing, and what it tells us about using mysteries in Dungeons and Dragons. Let's talk about it. All right, so I recently watched the show The Undoing. It's on HBO Max. It stars Hugh Grant and Nicole Kidman, okay, and a few other people a few other people. Right, and it's a fair play mystery. Now, what is a fair play mystery? Fair play mystery is really fascinating. A fair play mystery is specifically a mystery where if you're a viewer and you're watching it, you can pay attention and figure out the clues and figure out the murder, because they're not misdirecting you. They're not bringing in the murder like 2/3 way into the murder's there from the beginning. The clues are laid out, and if you're paying attention and you're smart, you can solve it on your own, right? And it's difficult to write a fair play mystery, right? But I watched this, by the way, spoilers for The Undoing in this. So Hugh Grant is this husband who's like this really wonderful husband who cures kids with cancer, right? And Nicole Kidman is the daughter of this outrageously wealthy billionaire. Pretty sure there's a billionaire, at least in the 100 millionaires. And they live this really jet-setter New York lifestyle, very, very rich lifestyle. And it comes to light that that Nicole Kidman, who is a super smart psychologist, has been outrageously stupid when it comes to her own husband, right? Because she's supposed to know, she's presented as a psychologist who is able to just read people super well, but when it comes to what she wants and the people she chooses to put in her life, she's blind, right? And so Hugh Grant is the murderer, right? He cheats on her, and then he murders the woman that he cheats with, right? And she is clueless, just not only clueless, but literally endangers herself, endangers her son, who she had with this murderer guy, and endangers her father, and bails him out of jail, and fights to him for him until the very last minute, when the evidence that he is a murderer, even when she's being told by other characters from the first episode that he's a murderer, like she continuously just invests herself in blinding herself to who this villainous person really is, right? So I watched this and I was like, and it was good. It was a great mystery. And if you're paying attention, the mystery was her husband, right? This guy who cures kids of cancer. He's a real cancer doctor, right? That wasn't made up, right? That was he didn't lie about that. He really was a cancer doctor, but he was also a sociopath and a murderer, right? And there were plenty of clues for Nicole Kidman to know this, right? She had been warned by her father literally from the day they met. The father met her, was like, this dude's not a good dude. You need to, But she's like, no, I want this, right? This is the person I want in my life, and I'm going to blind myself to all these clues, right? And it's shocking, right? Really, really fascinating story, right? So how do you use this in your Dungeons and Dragons game? Well, the best way, in my opinion, I love putting mysteries in the middle of my Dungeons and Dragons games, but I think you need to make them really short, right? So this inspired me to think again about using mysteries in your Dungeons and Dragons. And what I would suggest to you is your player characters go to a village, right? They are told about a horrible murder that happened 3 nights ago, right? And they're told exactly what type of weapon was used, right? And then the players may choose to stay there for a day or two and investigate, right? Move that along quickly, because they're not going to solve it there because the person's already gone. The murderer has moved on, right? When they move out of that area, right, what they'll do is they'll go through the forest, and in the forest, if they pass their perception check, one of them can see an area where something's been buried recently. Characters dig it up. It's exactly the weapon that was described in the last village, right? Then they move on to the tavern, but when they discover the buried weapon on brambles 20 feet away from the buried weapon, they find a patch of cloak, right? And it's a purple cloak, and they find a torn patch off of that purple cloak, right? And that's been, that was torn off in the night when the person who buried it, didn't realize that patch was being torn off their cloak. So village, burial site of the weapon. They go to a tavern, and who do they see? Sitting right there is a bard with a torn purple cloak, and they've got the patch and they've got the weapon, right? So you hand them the mystery, and at that point they're moving on, right? They have other quests they're following, but their quest is interrupted by, do we backtrack and give the people in that village the justice they deserve, right? The answer to the mystery that we now have. Do we endanger ourselves in something that we're really not involved in, but there's a whole village waiting for justice? It's a very interesting perspective and aspect. I would present this to your characters in your player characters in your next D&D 5th edition game. This is all inspired by The Undoing. Check it out if you have HBO Max. It's quite good. All that's my opinion. I'd love to hear your opinion. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.